Hello, today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2015, and I am your host, Sue Brown, and welcome to Info2Rail, your freight train to modern media. How y'all doing today? Just want to tell you it is nice outside today where I am at in New York, 50 degrees and very warm. It's about time. Well, welcome to our show. We have an absolutely great interview for you today. We're very fortunate to have internationally known psychic Joseph Jacobs with us today. It's going to be an awesome interview. Today for our news, each time I do news, I try to construct it around the subject of whoever or whatever guest we have on and what they're talking about. Well, the psychic news I found for today was a little bit over the top, but it kind of shocked me and I'd like to share it with you. According to Fox News, a psychic faces trial in murder he predicted of a young mother. In Wichita, Kansas, the leader of Kansas commune that prosecutors say lived off insurance payouts following the death of a group member is set to stand trial for a murder in 2003 drowning of one of them. A young mother whose death he allegedly foretold weeks before it happened. Daniel U. Perez, a 55-year-old self-proclaimed seer, is charged with first-degree premeditated murder in the death of 26-year-old Patricia Hughes at the group's compound in the Wichita suburb of Valley Center. Jury selections begin Monday in Sedgwick County District Court. Authorities have investigated several deaths linked to the group, but the Wichita trial will only deal with the Hughes death and other crimes that allegedly occurred while its fewer than a dozen members lived communally in Sedgwick County. The bizarre case led investigators through a web of false identities and money that stretched through Texas, South Dakota, Missouri, Kansas, and Tennessee. Its members lived together in one large home or in houses in close proximity and moved from state to state. They've apparently dispersed since Perez, who had assumed the false identity of Lou Castro, was first arrested in 2010 on identity theft charges and sent to federal prison for 2 years. Kansas authorities unsealed the state charges in 2012. As soon as he finished that sentence, he's been in jail awaiting trial ever since. Investigators initially believed Hughes drowned while trying to rescue her 2-year-old daughter from a swimming pool, but they reclassified it a homicide after a woman came forward and said it had been staged to look like an accident. That is very disturbing, very disturbing. What kind of a total jerk is that? I'm sorry, but wow. You know, what people do in the name of money is disturbing. I read that and I thought that was something to share with everyone. It's heartbreaking. I mean, that 2-year-old little girl now is motherless and it's all over money. Well, that can't affect our interview today because we have a great person on with us today. That is Joseph Jacobs, and we are going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll have Joseph Jacobs with us. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We are back with Joseph Jacobs. He was a pre-production consultant on NBC's The Other Side and has hosted his own local cable show. Joe has been heard on over 900 radio stations, wrote a newspaper column, and various articles. Guest appearances include Japan's Fuji Channel's Gold Passport, the Family Channel's Rise and Shine, Sally Jesse Raphael's, along with appearances on many Los Angeles cable shows. Top CEOs have used Joseph's service as a consultant on their business and personal placements. Speaking engagements have included the Pritkin Institute, the Whole Life Expo, Fullerton College, 40 Plus, the Los Angeles Central Library, as well as appearances at numerous charitable functions. Hello, Joseph, and welcome to Info2Rail. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on, Sue. I was looking forward to it.
Me as well. Let's start out by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself. When did you realize you had a psychic gift?
It came rather late in life. My mother was psychic, so I grew up thinking it was a normal thing. I would hear stories about her predictions, and she didn't like to do it. She was not a professional. In other words, like many people who are intuitive, they may not be, working at it. And she'd say, no, 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 I don't want to do it. And then if you pursued a little bit further, she would fix you lunch and give you a reading. And but I had a curiosity in terms of astrology, numerology, the I Ching I liked an awful lot. I liked the runes. And I dabbled. And then back in 1980, I was walking on the beach in Venice, California, and I met a man. Long gray beard, long gray hair, looked like a comic book guru, and he said, "What's your birthday?" And I told him my birthday, January 12th, and he said, "Oh, you're a two of spades." And I said, "That's very nice." And I started to walk away, and he said, "No." And he started to rattle off things about me that no one had ever told me, and no one had ever known. And we became friends, and we would meet regularly, and he introduced me to a card system that I started to use, started to read people for free. That's a good way to start. Relatives, friends, and whatnot, telling them things that couldn't be true and yet came true. And after 2 years, in 1982, I said to myself at a New Year's Eve party, this is what I want to do for a living. And since then, I've done over 15,000 readings. I've been on over 900 radio stations, and using this card system primarily as the intuitive focus that I have.
That is very fascinating. I've been a psychic most of my life as well, and didn't realize I had that gift either until I just started to know things, and all of a sudden the things that I was predicting were actually happening.
Mm-hmm. And people have to be careful when they see a psychic. In other words, go by recommendation. And what may be good for one person may not be good for another. Make sure it's a reasonable price. Ask if you can take notes or if you can record. If you can't record, don't do it. And also, anyone who scares you is out to con you, whether it's an advertiser on your television set or a televangelist or, so be careful. A good psychic prepares you, doesn't scare you.
Absolutely.
It's not a scary thing. And there are 3 reasons why people go to readings. I call it the 3 C's: curiosity, confirmation, and crisis. Curiosity, there are a lot of people who are interested in the metaphysical world and like to get an astrological reading and numerological reading, explore meditation, explore various things. Then there's confirmation. Someone may believe what I do. They're planning certain things, and they want some feedback. They want a second opinion, in other words, in terms of their direction in life, their choices in life. And then the third one is crisis. And in crisis, you have to be very careful. Very often, people in crisis aren't going to listen to your advice anyway. Very often, I would say, you need to see a lawyer. You need to see a psychologist. You need to see a doctor, So in those cases, you need to be a little more careful, I think.
I agree with that. The thing that I guess bothers me is the psychics that are out there that you call them and, they advertise 3 free questions. And when you call them and you give them your 3 free questions, they beat around the bush. They don't even answer one of your questions. And then they tell you to send them $200 and they'll take this evil spirit away in which your question has nothing to do with.
Oh yeah, the moment somebody says that, who scares you, there's an evil spirit, your money is cursed, they'll and very often these people are in crisis. They've had loss in the family, they've had some terrible experiences that they can't handle, and those people are particularly vulnerable to getting ripped off.
I definitely noticed that. I can't read for myself, so if I have a question or something, that's usually, I'll find somebody and test them out a little bit before I get personal with them and ask them anything personal. But I found that 9 out of 10 that I've talked to, they will tell me that there's a presence in my life that's negative and that's cursing me, and if you send me $200, I'll lift that curse, and immediately I'm like, this is just not right.
Dollars by people like that.
Oh, I can imagine. It's very frustrating.
It is scary.
What types of psychics are out there, like clairvoyant, tarot, etc.? What different kinds of psychics are there?
That's a very good question. That's right. One of the things that I used to started with before I met Ian, who taught me the card system that I use, is psychometry, where you touch an object that somebody has, a ring, a bracelet, a wallet, you give it back, of course, and you hold it, and you get certain impressions. There are tarot readers. There are people who use numerology or astrology. A lot of astrologers are psychic. They may be using a system, but over the years, while doing many, many readings, and most people are intuitive. Usually, you're single, you go to a party, and you see someone, and the first impression is, oh, God. You're crying on your pillow, So people don't go by those intuitions of stay away. That could be a problem. One of the things that you could do, Sue, in reading yourself is meditate. To listen to the quiet voice within. We all have a chattering voice. I got to pay the bills. I got to make this appointment. What am I going to tell her? What am I going to do with him? But when you take a little bit of time and begin to listen to the chatter, and then go beyond the chatter, the yada, 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 I got this, worry, whatever, fear, begin to listen to a non-judgmental, quiet voice that'll sound like you. It's your guardian angel. And your guardian angel will say, yeah, that's a good choice, or don't do that. Or why don't you do that now? And so we can follow our own intuition more positively that way.
It's really hard because, you get this, what's going on in your life sometimes, and you kind of already know what direction you should go in, but it's just not a direction that you even want to face, So for me, I think I already know where I should head. But for me, it's that little bit of maybe a psychic will tell me something's coming that I'm just not seeing, so I don't have to make this horrible decision to do what it is I already know I have to do.
Yeah, and after doing 15,000 readings, I realized that there's an incredible choreography that is there. Each of us has a particular life plan and life lessons. I come from in my readings that we are in this world, which is a school, to refine ourselves. We've come back into this lifetime from other lifetimes to learn certain lessons, and we have free choice, but we are on a track, and that track can have offshoots. It is a time when you may need to slow down, may need to speed up. You don't want to slow down when you need to speed up. You don't want to speed up when you need to slow down. And so there are many lessons. The lessons have to do with relationships and love. They have to do with finance and money. They have to do with career and how we refine ourselves and improve ourselves so ultimately we can get closer to God.
Absolutely.
And the card system that I use is interesting. The regular deck of cards was never meant to be shuffled, and I feel strongly that the tarot cards never meant to be shuffled. That they are laid out in a particular way for your birth. And then there is a different layout for each year that you're in. And then there are 7-year cycles, and there are 7 cycles within the year. The deck of cards is an ancient computer. There are 52 cards, there are 52 weeks. If you count all the pips, the numbers, aces are 1, kings are 13, you add them all up, you get 364. The joker is the remainder of days, a day and a quarter. And difficult to read. December 31st is, you need an awful lot of intuition to read somebody born December 31st. But there are 4 suits, 4 seasons.
Why is it? I'm sorry.
And so the deck of cards is an ancient computer. In fact, in the tarot deck, there are 56 cards in the lower arcana. There should really be 52, and 4 of those cards, possibly the pages, should be part of the major arcana. And in the major arcana, then, instead of 22, you get 26. And 26 is the Hebrew alphabet. There are 26 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And so that is the higher level. In other words, that is sort of God's work. So I have a lot of disputes with psychics over the years.
Why is it hard to read somebody who was born on December 31st?
December 31st is like a chameleon. There are many things to many people. When they're with you, they're like you. When they're with me, they're like me. And they can change. They're either very hard-working people, can be very creative. They can be workaholics. They have many talents. Or they can be totally into ego and pleasure and escapism. And so you have to read them from 2 different perspectives, and usually use your intuition to size up which one they're in.
Oh, that's fascinating.
But every day, and then we have 752-day cycles also. And a third of the people in the world are diamond people. Diamond people are into finance, have many lessons to learn about finance. They have an understanding of systems, club people are into development of the mind, use of the mind. They can sometimes be athletic also. In other words, instead of mind, they use body development. Heart people are into emotional lessons, relationship lessons, creative people very often. And spades are the workers. They work very hard. Many of their lessons have to do with work and health. And spirituality and wisdom growth through the work. In other words, the work that we do, whatever our career, whatever the work we do, even around the house, washing dishes, cleaning, is part of your spiritual enlightenment. But we are a combination of cards. You march here, March 10th, which is the King of Diamonds, mastery of values. But you're also, your mind is emotional, creative, with a need for communication. Your relationships have to do with work very often. That's a 4 of clubs. So there's a great deal of work involved. The 2 of diamonds is your Mars card, and so you like to work in partnerships and cooperative efforts and quick-moving businesses and so forth, and so we are not just hearts and spades and clubs and diamonds. We're combinations of things.
That is absolutely very true about me. Wow. You find very little psychics that actually can tell you about you without you telling yourself about them,
Mm-hmm.
My question, I guess, on this subject of being a psychic, where is it? Is there only certain ones of us that have this ability, or does everyone have the ability and not know how to tap into it?
About what one of their kids is involved in or in a problem. Businessmen and women, very often they wouldn't consider it psychic, but use their intuition in terms of trends, in terms of how to develop their business. Very often we struggle with something in our lives, and it's not until we lie down or take a shower or take a walk, get away from the problem, that the answers arrive. So psychic development, when you're consciously developing psychically, is to more and more get in touch with the intuition that comes in.
Absolutely. So many people, I can read them. I used to have to use my tarot cards all the time, but now there's certain people that when they come to me, for some odd reason now, I don't even need to touch my cards and I can see the outcome clearly. It's not a picture or something that you can see, but it's like you just know. So
there's a light that emanates from each of us, and they can see whether there is some blockage or some positive influence. I worked with a psychic who read a glass of water, just like a crystal ball,
wow.
And she was very good. She would just look at her glass of water. I very often have a glass of water when I do a reading. Not that I look at that, but just the energy of the water that comes out. Because I keep crystals. I keep quartz crystals in my water. It balances the water. It purifies the water, and it can be very healing. Also, whenever I feel a bit out of sorts, I drink water that has had crystals in it, quartz crystals.
Wow, I've heard of people that can read through water and can read through tea leaves.
Exactly. I mean, there are many. They're African people who read bones, entrails, coffee, tea leaves, whatever the system that you use, whatever the focus is that helps you concentrate. And so there are many ways. And we can all develop our intuition through taking quiet time. In fact, taking some quiet time. We're all so busy on our cell phones, television, on the run, that we don't really listen. We don't really tune in. And I strongly suggest that people kind of slow down from time to time. And, voicemail is a gift. Use it,
Absolutely.
Call back later,
I have a question. I don't know if you can answer it for me, but nobody else has been able to. I have an issue with deja vu in my life. Deja vu to other people is seeing, you've been there before, you've done this before. For me, every time I get a deja vu moment, it is more of a warning. I don't think I've ever had a deja vu moment that ever ended good. So for me, it's a warning, and I immediately stop what I'm doing and change the outcome of how this is going to happen. I've been doing this since I was a little kid. I'll see, I've been here before, I've done this before, and I quickly run through my brain to get to the end result to see if it's going to be good or bad, and it's usually bad. So at that moment, I stop time and say, okay, everybody, this has to change right now. And I don't tell anybody why, but I say, we're not going to town right now, or you can't go to your friend's house, or it's something like that. And what does that mean? I mean, why does it happen to me like that? I've changed so many events in my life due to deja vu.
Well, a deja vu is a psychic moment. In most cases, psychologists would tell you that it's a ricochet. That you see something, it ricochets in the brain, and so it ricochets in a part of the brain that is memory. And so you think that this is a memory, even though it's just happening for the first time. But in your case, I think it's part of your psychic ability.
I'm wondering because like I said, I've been doing this for several years, and it gets stronger and stronger, as I go on. As soon as I hear something that is, and it's the exact thing, I've been there before, I know the outcome, I have no question. And as the dialogue goes back and forth, or the situation unravels, it's like an immediate fight or flight thing in me that has to stop this immediately because I know the outcome is going to be bad.
Well, it's almost rather than deja vu, it's almost as if it's a forward movement in time and space for you. That's what it sounds like to me.
I didn't know that was possible until I one day I stopped and said, "Whoa, all these times I'm getting these deja vu moments, and is this a sign for me to stop? Could I actually help people in their lives in these moments? It's crazy."
Well, I see psychic as plugging in to a kind of cyberspace, a spiritual cyberspace, and so that you connect to somebody else even at a great distance. Because all of my readings are over the phone. I even in Los Angeles, where I live, I even read my friends over the phone. I'm more comfortable with that. And so it's a way of plugging into the ethers. It's like, the old telephone operators who plugged you in to a particular telephone number. It's that kind of a thing. And what you may be doing is rushing ahead. And it seems like deja vu, but it's really a foreshadowing that you connect to.
Huh.
And I would trust those. That is unique, Sue. By the way, people can find me on my website, 800-C-SELF, and that's my phone number too, 800-SEESELF.com. And every week I put up like an astrological reading, but it isn't Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, etc. It's the day. It's the energy of the day, and what's good to do on that day, what to watch out for on that day, what kind of things you will be hearing on the news. Like yesterday, I had transportation, and then you had that terrible airplane crash and another bad truck accident up in Canada also. Or that the market will be very volatile on a particular day, to be cautious with what you do with your finances or even shopping. And so people can take a look at each day on my website, 800-C-SELF, and get an idea about what it is to be productive about. There are days when you can start new things. There are days when you shouldn't, and maybe work on unfinished business and stuff on the back burner.
When you do your readings with these people over the phone, what do you draw your power from, your energy from?
A good breakfast. I don't understand. I don't understand. It is listening to the quiet voice as I'm reading.
I mean, do you draw from their voice, or their energy?
I try not to. I try not to, because if you have somebody say to me, "Oh, is my relationship working?" Well, I know right away it's not working, and I will say so. Look, you're telling me that the relationship in your voice is not working. So I don't use that. I don't use body language. I mean, of course, because I don't read people privately anymore. But even when I did, I wouldn't pay attention to body language or their voice. I would use the card system, which is extremely accurate in terms of what is your life path? What are you here to learn in this lifetime? What are you here to learn this year? What are you here to learn this month? And how to deal with obstacles and how to deal with times of successes as well. When's a good time to meet someone? When's a good time to make an investment? When's a good time to buy a house or sell a house? Those kinds of things. But it's all from a point of view as this is part of your spiritual lesson as well.
Right.
How you handle it, how you handle each task, how you handle relationships, how you use your abilities, and what blocks you. There are things that people have difficult issues with. And I try to see what those are and try to help them, overcome those issues.
I've been into the paranormal my whole life as well. For some odd reason, I've been able to, my grandfather appeared to me after he passed, sitting beside me on my bed. I see things. I went into a house and actually did a paranormal investigation for one of my friends, and when I got in there, it was the most horrible, heavy feeling I've ever felt in my life of evil. It's like all the evil that went on and the bad things in that house were such a heavy burden on my shoulders, and they were so heavy that I struggled. I quickly went through the house, and the closer I got to the room where everything happened, and I didn't know anything happened there until I'd gotten home and researched it afterwards, but it was that heavy presence where it felt like, an elephant sitting on me, and I just, after a little while, I told her I have to get out of this house. Whatever's here does not want me in this house. And when I got home, I researched and found out that the man that had lived there way back in the day had been a murderer of children. So,
wow.
I mean, this is the stuff that happens to me, and
I mentioned psychometry before, where you hold somebody's ring, and or an object that they have, and that has energy to it. I remember taking a woman's ring, and I said, "Somebody dark gave it to you," and she said, "Yes, he was African American." So the energy is there, and that's why I kind of warn people sometimes, if they feel there's a negative spirit in their home, it can very often be a used object that they bought, a sofa, a chair that they bought at a garage sale, that some of that energy can kind of glue itself to an object.
I never thought of that.
Or a house in your case,
right,
for that matter.
Well, I realized being there, and after I'd researched, I mean, this man was very evil in what he did, and he ended up killing his wife in that house and then killing himself. And there was never anything big that came out of it because, they had no proof. This back in the day, it was hearsay, and they never did, prosecute him or anything, or really be able to prove that this is what he did. But these were the allegations against him. And going in that house, I can honestly tell you, I have no doubt that this man was pure evil.
And you sensed it.
Oh, I felt it. I felt the pain of these little kids. I felt the evil of this man and the overpowering sadness and fear of his wife. It was all at once. I was sweating so bad and tears were flowing down my face. And the closer I got to this room, it was a horrible. I've never sensed anything like that in my life, and it was horrible.
Fortunately, Sue, those things are few and far between for most of us. Most intuitive and psychic phenomena can really be very healing. Very often people will come to me, and I can see that they could use a psychologist, but very often it would take a psychologist 6 months to find out things that I see and know and tell them. And then, of course, it's for them to act on it.
Absolutely. I think a big question on everybody's mind right now, for most of us today, is, do you see another world war in our future?
Another what?
Another world war.
I didn't.
Another world war coming, with everything so bad going on in this world, and it seems like everything's falling apart, and it kind of looks to me and the people watching, what's going on around us, we're all kind of curious if you see us having a World War III.
Well, I saw an ad in a tech company magazine once, about 10, 15 years ago. I don't remember the company, but the ad was a full-page ad in a magazine, and it had WW1, World War I, WW2, World War II, and then underneath that it had WWW. So we are in a technological war. We, of course, have Islamic gangsters. Let's not call them terrorists. They're gangsters worldwide. And so we are in a worldwide war. Plus, Russia is, Putin, or Rasputin, as I like to call him, is trying to reestablish the power of the Soviet Union. So we are living in difficult times. We are in a time, and plus the environment. There are going to be wars over water in the future, and energy and food. So in a sense, we're in a very, very difficult time. The only thing that each of us individually can do is the best that we can do in our own personal lives, the best that we can do with the people that we love, and in our work, and to get the most out of life, to enjoy life.
Well, what I've heard,
we are much too materialistic in this culture.
Absolutely,
and it's not. People don't feel well, so they buy something, and of course they have to work harder to pay for it, which makes them feel down. So they have to buy something else to make them feel better, and so our priorities need to change.
Well, I listen to people like Alex Jones and such, and I hear him talk about this infrastructure breaking and how pretty soon it's going to be, divide and conquer, and, the kids will go to one education camp and they'll be divided from their parents who go to the other if their parents survive. And, you just hear about what these people think is coming that's going to be so devastating to us. And I just wondered if you actually see that that's really coming. Is this something we got to fear?
I don't think you got to fear it. Don't give in to fear. The biggest problems for most people is ego or selfishness or their own issues as opposed to anybody else in their lives. Fear, which keeps people from doing what they need to be doing. If I do this, that could happen. If I do that, that'll happen. Worry. Either the meteorite will fall or it won't. Why worry about it? If there's something you can do, do it. Make choices. Rigidness can keep us from opening up to other people and progressing. Those are some of the primary things that get in our way, and that are very evident in the cards.
That's true. I know, for me, I used to fear everything. If I step out here, maybe I'll get hit by a car. If I go over there, maybe I'll get in a car accident. And then, you get to that point where, what's a sense of worrying? When you worry, you don't live.
Mm-hmm.
I worried for years what I would do if I lost one of my parents or both of them. And in October, I lost my dad. And come to find out at the end of that whole worry session, it was okay. I'm at peace with it. My father is in a place now where I know he's at peace. And to watch him suffer another moment would have been, the real bad thing.
Well, you worry, Sue, because you have so many options and interests in your life. So it's a matter of choosing and then focusing with all of your energy and intellect and ability on those things which are important to you. And then prioritizing also what you're interested in.
Well, I have 4 daughters, so everything is a worry with me. That they're brought up right and that they're on the right track and that when they're ready to leave home, they've got the necessary toolbox to use to get through this world, because it just seems this world is getting worse and worse by the moment.
Yeah, I get a lot of readings with people who are more interested in what their family, their children, their husband, their wife are going through than about themselves.
You know what?
So,
it's not about me and my family. Everything I do is for my family first. And that's my biggest concern. I want my kids to have an ideal future, one that's just and peaceful. And it's so hard.
And yet the best thing a parent can do is prepare the child to stand on its own feet.
Absolutely.
And so it's really important that, if there is some distance between you and your child, that's normal. It may even be healthy. It may be very hurtful. When are you going to call me? When are you going to write?
Oh, I'm going through that right now.
And yet, if your child is functioning on their own, you've done a good job.
I'm going through that now because I have a daughter who's kind of still living here but stays with her friend all the time, and it's sometimes 2 weeks that I haven't seen her. And I know...
What's your birthday?
My birthday or hers?
Her birthday.
Her birthday is December 21st.
December 21st, she's good looking. She's a 10 of hearts. Very creative, very social. She's a people magnet.
Yes, she is.
And in her younger years could be involved with jerks. I mean, she needs to be careful. She's extremely bright also, but she needs to be careful of interesting and unreliable people. But she's extremely capable. She can be very creative, work with the public very well, very expressive, and I wouldn't worry about her. Very talented, too, in many ways.
The only one that I really have a concern with is my 20-year-old, because something's happened where she's just...
What? Don't tell me anything. What's her birthday?
Her birthday is July 23rd.
July 23rd. Restless in school. She needed to work either creatively or athletically. And can be a little bit secretive about her personal life, can be the life of the party and then blow up sometimes.
Yeah.
restless mind. If education wasn't finished, a lot will depend on that or on development of her creativity. I would think also.
Her dream is to be a singer, and she struggles with it because she writes songs constantly, and it's hard to get, it's hard to get into that field. It's hard to even get your foot in the door. So everything to her is a no or a not yet, and she feels let down. She feels like we all let her down, and she's dealing with everything by herself, and we have a very spiral backwards in her life, and I'm very concerned about her. That's my biggest.
What she needs to do is go to every open mic possibility that she can go to. In other words, to go to clubs, make connections, that sort of thing.
Okay.
It's a tough business because even if you have are producing, there's not much money for songwriters anymore. People are just ripping them off on the internet.
Oh, absolutely. It seems like that's the way of it.
So the important thing is to develop as a singer and maybe, try to work in musicals, try to involve herself with other musicians, choruses, and networking. And she can be a little bit too self-analytical and critical.
Way too. Yeah, that's very much too much. Everything has to be perfect.
In other words, she shouldn't edit before she writes.
Right. I agree. Everything has got to be perfect for her. If she sings off key, she has a fit. If she's writing a song and it's not written perfectly, she has a fit. Everything has to be absolutely pinpoint perfect.
Well, perfectionism can also lead to success, but that's got to be tempered somehow with a little bit more self-acceptance and less criticism, less self-criticism.
She's not always been this way. Something happened in the last 4 years that really changed her into a very inward person. She is very depressed and very withdrawn, and it's a scary thing. And I'm so worried. I don't want to lose my daughter, even mentally.
The way to deal with depression is to own it. It's like artists and mystics very often get the blues, and it's that emptiness just before new ideas rush in. If you can see it as nature abhors a vacuum, and own it. Own your feelings, in other words. So if you're feeling good, fine. If you're feeling down, say, okay, I'm down. Oh, okay. What do I need to do? What can I do that's positive? What can I do that's healthy? What have I been meaning to do that I can focus on? And slowly get yourself out of it. But sometimes that emptiness and that depression it can be a precursor to new ideas and new inspirations.
Yeah, that's definitely where she draws her strength for the songs she writes, and she is a fabulous songwriter. She's written hundreds and hundreds of songs, and they are all heartfelt, deep emotion songs, and they are amazing. She is definitely.
She has the potential. She has the potential in her middle years to be extremely successful.
I am glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yep.
In order to, when someone is looking for a specific psychic, or someone that's actually a real psychic that has real abilities, what do we want to shy away from? Is there keywords that we want to shy away from when we first get on the phone with them?
I don't understand the question exactly.
Well, if we're calling a psychic that's not really even a psychic, but is into it for the money, what keywords or phrases are we looking at from this specific psychic that tells us that this is not genuine?
Well, first of all, never tell a psychic anything in advance. You don't want to say I'm interested about a relationship or my career or money or whatever the issue is. Say nothing. Stonewall it. Listen to whatever the psychic does. I mean, if the psychic wants your birthday or wants to hold a ring that you've got or whatever, fine. And then, even con artists can be very good at sort of fishing and saying a few things that will seem like they're real. You got to take the whole thing and listen to what they have to say, and then when it comes to questions and answers, use your own intuition, your own gut feeling, to see if they're reliable.
All right, that's helpful, because a lot of people I know are, they go out and they're looking, and they're running into walls with so many of these psychics that they're finding online. They're running into walls, and they're running into, the psychic asking them what they're calling about in details about what they want to know. And that's how, with me, it's easier if they don't tell me anything, so I can draw off from what I'm getting instead of what they're telling me.
If somebody may come and have issues, and I may not speak to those issues, I may speak to other issues that ultimately will help them with the particular issue that they're looking at.
Absolutely, yeah.
And since I do all my readings on the phone and record the reading, I record the reading because, first of all, you couldn't take notes as quickly as I'm putting out information unless you do steno. But I also want them to hear themselves. In other words, I had a reading with a woman who was very distraught about a relationship. And once she heard herself, she heard how hysterical she was about that relationship not working. She could let go of it. She realized, wow, that's not me. That's not where I want to be. So it's not just what I tell them, but often hearing themselves and hearing the issues and the questions, and how they respond can be a great lesson to them also. I see everything as lessons, the difficulties. I mean, we are born into this life, and nobody gives you your curriculum. Nobody tells you you're in this lifetime to learn this and this and this and this. I do, and I think a very good astrologer might. And then these are the lessons of the year. This is what you're confronting financially in terms of relationship. This is how the relationships work. This is why they do work or don't work. Those kinds of things. But listening to their own process in the reading can also be very helpful.
Do you think it's possible to be able to communicate with somebody or have them hear you in their mind through your mind? Do you think that that's a possibility?
That they can what? Exactly, I'm sorry.
Like if somebody's really close to you, do you think that it's possible to communicate with your mind to their subconscious where they can actually hear you?
Oh, well, I don't know if they can hear you, but people that live together, people who have known each other for a long time are connected. I mean, we've all had experiences where you think about somebody and they suddenly call you.
Right.
Even though you haven't seen them in a long time. So we are all connected to this spiritual cyberspace.
So basically,
and what psychics have to do, whether they use a system like me or not, is to sort of plug into that.
So basically,
so sure, people that we live with, we intuit things all the time.
So basically, sometimes when we think of that person, we kind of will it into being, and they end up calling us. Is that how it works?
Either that, or you're precogniting that they will be calling you.
Right. It happens to me a lot. I'll think about.
In other words, you're on their mind, and so it becomes that you're connected.
Right.
They're reaching out before you even realize it.
That makes sense. Happens to me a lot.
Yeah.
I'll think about somebody and either I'll get a text or a Facebook message or an email or something or a phone call, and it's like, wow, I was just this second thinking about you.
We're all connected, and prejudice, racism, differences, male, female, whatever. We're all connected, and in this lifetime, there are these differences that create friction in order to heighten our awareness, I think.
Well, I can sit across the room from somebody that I'm really close to, whether it be one of my kids or somebody that I'm really, connected with, and I can think something in my mind, and that person will say, yes, your answer is yes, I know what you're thinking, and I haven't even said a word. And that happens to me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's crazy.
You're very evolved. You are.
It's good to hear. And I sometimes wonder when these things start happening that don't usually happen. It'll be a new thing that happens, like I just said, being able to think of something and somebody answers your thoughts before you've said anything out loud. That's something that's kind of recent. So for me, that I'm thinking, wow, am I just really sending signals across the room or what? So for me, that's kind of
neat. Once again, if anybody wants to contact me, they can go to my website. It's www.800, the number, cself.com, SEESELF.com, and that's my phone number too, 800cself.com.
I had the opportunity to speak with you a couple days ago, and I have to tell these listeners that you are amazing. And they should take that opportunity to get on there with you if there's something that they need to know, because you are definitely spot on and you are amazing.
And I'm delighted to have met you, Sue. I think you're the real thing, and I think you're very powerful. Trust it, treasure it, nurture it, share it. You've got a lot to offer, Sue.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very appreciative of that. And I'd really like to thank you for being with us today and taking your time to share with us. Like I said, you are amazing. And I really, really, suggest that our listeners go on there and check you out.
Thank you very much, and God bless you and be well.
God bless you too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye now.
All right. That was a fabulous interview. And I would just like to say, again, thank you to Joseph Jacobs for taking the time to be on here with us today. And I'd like to thank you all for listening to our show. And that's all we have time for today. We post our shows, and if you want to know more about our guests and upcoming shows, as we have several guests coming to you that are absolutely amazing as well, just visit our Info2Rail webpage. All you have to do is Google Info2Rail, click on our Google Sites page. We post all of our Info2Rail interviews on our Info2Rail YouTube site. We hope to see you here each week, and we would love to. I just want to express my thankfulness for all of you that do join us each week. May God bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you in these uncertain times. We'll see you soon.